Welcome back to Education Champions on Daily News Network. I'm Mike White, and joining me is Sarah from Methodology. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So with education, there's a lot of different changes going on in the industry. What are you seeing that's really impacting the way that teachers teach?
Well, with the recent results in the TIMSS test, we're seeing that there's really a need for students to understand a conceptual understanding and why they're doing what they're doing versus just rote procedural computations. Because really, when we look at the industry, those skills aren't as important as being able to problem solve. So that's what we're really focusing on is slowing things down and understanding the whys behind the hows.
Excellent. And we have an expert join us today. So welcome Marian Small with 1 to Infinity Limited. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So give us a little background on your company and how you got started in the industry.
I was a professor at a university teaching people how to teach math and teaching mathematics as well. And in the course of being in that role, I got known to a variety of school districts and publishers, and my career just sort of happened.
Excellent. And what is it that you see as the biggest change coming in the industry? Is it similar to what Sarah mentioned, or are you seeing other things with the boots on the ground?
Well, yeah. Well, what's interesting is I actually agree with what Sarah said, but when I'm out in the field talking to teachers, what I see are people who are more, I'm going to suggest, beleaguered, worrying about what the public thinks. What if I do this? What if a parent doesn't like this or whatever? And I didn't used to hear it as much as I do now, worrying about how the public, in particular parents, will react if I take a risk and do things differently.
It's interesting. I think that that hesitancy comes with educating parents really as well, and helping them kind of see bigger picture, because that's not the way they learned. And so it's when you want to help your child and you're not quite sure how to help them, you kind of get defensive, and then they question teachers, and teachers really need that background to be able to answer to them. Miriam, in your work, you talk about this idea of parents and this hesitancy of teachers. How have you seen, from the work as a professor to now your work with teachers, how has it changed? And what is it that these students really need to have?
I feel that students really need to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it if we want them to retain it and transfer it to new situations, which is what I think we teach for. So I often talk to teachers about how I'm teaching for what I call the long haul and not the short haul. So for the short haul, if I want a child to be able to do a particular procedure on a particular day, it's just quick for me to tell them what to do and they do it. But that doesn't get you anywhere in the long haul, because you're not with them every day and they're going to forget it because it didn't mean anything to them. So I feel like we live in a very impatient world. And I think mathematics instruction requires more patience than we're comfortable with.
So you talk about patience.
Yeah.
A teacher who is looking at their standards and their curriculum, and they're like, patience, I've got to get through all of this stuff. You're telling me that I need to slow down. So what is your advice to teachers when you're working with them in trying to build this patient, approach?
Absolutely. I think for me, a lot of it is reading standards with a more, I'm going to call it, critical eye. They're looking at it as if I have to practice each of these separate tiny little things 5 million times, when in fact, many of these things are connected. And if you brought out those connections, you wouldn't have to practice each of those separate things 5 million times, because they're going to kind of flow together. So they think they don't have time because they're taking each of the pieces and pulling them apart. I think their job is to look for connections and help kids and themselves see those connections, and they'll gain a lot of time that way.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that can help with the parents as well, right?
And one
Yeah.
last question. If you could wave a magic wand, and in 2 years, if you finish the sentence, 1 to infinity will blank. In 2 years, 1 to infinity will blank.
Oh dear. I'm not sure. I want to be positive here. We'll continue my strong belief that teachers are what matters the most, and we need to focus on making teachers more comfortable teaching math if we're going to get success, and I'm going to continue in that journey.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it.
No problem. Lovely to see you.
To find out more about Marian and 1 to infinity, visit us at dailynewsnetwork.com. We'll see you next time on Education Champions.
I'm Sarah Schaefer, founder of Mathodology. We're a company that's invested in helping parents, teachers, students understand the whys behind the math concepts and not just the how-tos. Understanding how math connects. The ideas connect and should not be taught in isolation. We need to provide these connections. This is what I do, and this is what I'm so passionate about. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will take advantage of the support and the training that we offer.